I'm on. Thank you for being on, everybody. We appreciate your presence. We got a weird setup for tonight. I don't know if we'll be able to make this work or not, but hopefully we'll be able to make this work for you guys. How you doing? Come on in. Shalom, tada, Anay Kofi, Kohelet at Marach, at Servants of Christ. Um, Mashalom Che. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And we appreciate you guys today for being on with us. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we appreciate you for being on. Let's go ahead and get into this since our evenings are a little shorter in this season, and hopefully everybody is doing well. And we appreciate you so very much. We thank you. How you doing? Let's say hello to everybody. How you doing, Minister Shante, Sister Betty? I believe Sister Shima was already on. Sister Coco, Sister Deborah, Minister Joseph. Everybody, we appreciate you guys so much. And we thank you. Hello, Sister Beverly. How are you doing? Money Green, Tori, Springtime. Everybody, we thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you. And what we're going to talk about tonight, and those that are moderators, I know it's the evening. We don't normally have as many people on, but we might have. This is a little sensitive topic, if I could just be honest about it. But we're going to talk about my body, my choice. It's based off of a TikTok video I watched earlier today, and I decided to make sure that I stitched it, made a little response. It got me thinking about it. It's something that we talk about here or there. Thank you for the love. Appreciate you. I was thinking, this whole thing, my body, my choice. How you doing, Sister Monica? And I think we're starting to see some dangerous activity that happens on both sides of the spectrum. We're talking about the masculine side and the feminine side of things. I think there's some things that we have to see that happen. How you doing, Rob? Some things that are happening on both sides of the spectrum because of this conversation. My body, my choice. Very, very interesting topic to go over. Very problematic in the ways of those of us that are not willing to hear each other anymore. How you doing, Tree by Living Water? Many of us are not willing to have conversation about much of anything, and if we do, it has to be about how right our prism is concerning certain matters, and this is one of those matters. My body, my choice. But we're seeing a lot of things that are going on because of this. Where there's a lot of issues that are coming out of this conversation. And I think we should get to the point of these issues. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? And everybody coming on. So I want to take some time out to really kind of focus in and commit and think about these things with a little more depth. Because it's easy to say that you got deadbeat dads. It's easy to say these women are just murderers who are just evil, blah, blah. How you doing, Big Roy? And Shabbat Shalom to everybody. By the way, I apologize. Thank you, Big Brother Thomas, for saying that. Shabbat Shalom for those of us, for the Gregorian calendar. Shabbat Shalom. We'll be having our Shabbat Shalom podcast tomorrow, or else our Shabbat Shalom service on the podcast tomorrow. So feel free to join us for that. But yeah, we're having very interesting conversation about my body, my choice. And it stems from something, the problems that are coming out. So long story short, if I can get to the video. And like I said, this is actually on Kofi_42 if you want to look it up for yourself and watch it. But there's a person on there, a brother who makes it a point to start out by saying he has 7 babies, about 7 baby mamas. And how you doing, Sister Nadine, and everybody coming on? How you doing, Bounty? So he makes it a point. How you doing, Lynette? He makes it a point to say he's got 7 babies by 7 baby mamas, and that basically he doesn't take care of any of them because he had told all of the women he was with that he was not going to take care of any babies. How you doing, Cricket? Oh, Sister Jessica and Brother Bertram. Hey, how y'all doing? So when we see this, we have to realize that. So he goes into a thing of say, I told all of them I didn't want children. They decided to keep the children. They didn't want abortions. Therefore, I shouldn't have to take care of them. And he kind of flips the my body, my choice thing in that. And we're starting to have a lot more of that. Like, hey, if you want to keep a baby and it's your body, your choice, that's fine. But I should be able to, I should choose whether or not I want to support the baby. It's my money. It's my body. It's my life, my choice. And it's a lack of accountability that actually is astounding. It's the lack of accountability for me. you know, it's the lack of accountability that is astounding. How you doing, Henry? And I don't think we realize what's really going on here. It's not even the lack of accountability as far as taking care of a child. It's the lack of accountability of not making sure that you put yourself in a position to be in a relationship with somebody that's not already qualified as a husband or wife. And then it also gets to a place of where we have to ask a question, just like we've been having to ask a question: what is a male? What is a female? What is gender? Well, we got to ask a question: what is a baby? How you doing, Sister Austria? Like we got to be, we just have to have honest conversation. What is a baby? Because that's really one of the most underlying things. If we've changed how we treat a baby in the womb, if we change how we treat a baby before they're conceived, because spiritually speaking, if I might start there as a pastor, spiritually speaking, the Most High knew the baby before the baby was conceived, right? Physically speaking, right? The baby was a baby inside the womb. And then what should be normalcy. How you doing, Sister Betty? There should be other Sister Betty, got two Sister Bettys on, right? And then as far as normalcy, we should be having a conversation as far as what is as far as, yes, we should raise the baby, but see, if you change the definition of what a baby is and how much accountability you have for it, if you've changed babies into a fetus, and you say that the baby's not alive, well, then you have to realize that not only my body, my choice starts rearing its ugly head in a certain position, as far as my body, my choice now says, okay, I'm not it's not a baby in the womb. And thank you for the love. It's not a baby in the womb. Okay. My body, my choice also says it's not a baby as far as before the mother and father got together. There's no spirit attached to it. Then we have to realize that a lot of fathers are now going to start not treating them like babies once they are born. Salah. Now, this is problematic for many to hear, but it's a reality. All right, Coco. Right? This is the reality we do not want to hear, but it's truth. If I don't respect a baby in the womb, then why would I respect a baby outside the womb? And if I don't respect the baby in the womb, it means I don't respect the way the baby is placed in the womb, in the garden. I don't respect the seed, nor do I respect the egg. I don't respect the seed, nor do I respect the ground or the baby. Or so how can I respect the sexual activity, the marriage? Marriage is sex, sex is marriage. And why would I respect the fruit that comes out of that union? Why would I? What's the point of it? Right. And so we have to ask ourselves a question, because we're starting to do this weird thing. Now we can be honest. There are men that before abortions were even as well, abortions have really been around forever, in all honesty, but there are men who have not cared about it when abortions weren't something that were something you could have. There were men that created a bastard type situation. There are men that have left a lot of single mothers out there. Right. But if it's my body, my choice, and we're saying, hey, we want everybody to sign up for my body, my choice, then you can't really get upset with the results of that. Remember, right? The great philosopher Buster Rhymes once said that for every choice, there's an invoice. For every decision that I make, for every law that I make. How you doing, Miss Pierce? For every mindset that I carry, for every time I say I want everybody to be on my side and say that, hey, I should be able to kill a baby, and then say, you, well, hey, not only should I be able to kill the baby, it's not even a baby. Well, then when the baby is born, to then tell everybody, flip the script, flip a switch, turn it on real quick, and now make it a baby. It doesn't work that way. I'm not making excuses for bad behavior. I'm not making excuses for not being accountable to raising one's child. What I'm saying is we got to have an honest dialogue. How you doing, R. Gray? Like, we got to have an honest dialogue. I'm not making excuses. Once again, I am not making excuses for people who are not taking care of their children, male or female. man or woman, cis or non-cis, whatever, binary or non-binary, whatever terminology you want to use. I'm not making excuses, but what I'm saying is that if we have decided to try and create a doctrine. Remember, doctrine doesn't have to be spiritual. Doctrine is just anything that a group of people lift up. So if we're trying to create a doctrine that says my body, my choice means that I should be able to kill what's in my womb because it's my choice, then you have to realize that people who are part of that doctrine who live by it are going to not get rid of the doctrine just because the baby is born, which is why some places even abortions are allowed after birth. You say they say it's not a baby, so they don't feel bad for the wickedness they do. Yeah. It's something that we created, right? It's not until modern times that anybody decided that a baby was not a baby in the womb. Yeah, just like black people weren't considered to be human beings and they could be killed and things like that, right? And by the way that we use abortion, especially if you're using Margaret Sanger as the person to dictate what your mindset is concerning abortion, that comes out of chattel slavery when they would literally rip babies out of wombs. No anesthesia, no nothing to experiment on them. Yeah, some places, yep, exactly. Some places up to 2 years old, you can abort a baby because it's not a baby. See, you have to realize for every choice is an invoice. There's no boundary that's being put, right? Does does that baby have a right to be protected? This is why law is important. Law doesn't give rights, but law does what? It protects rights. So does that baby have the right to be protected? You have to ask yourself that. Now, let's be honest, it's about culture. Everything always goes with culture. We were talking about that today with forming habits. That baby in certain cultures has a right to be protected. How you doing, Sister Latoya? But in other cultures, the baby doesn't have a right to be protected, right? There's many different cultures where they didn't care about babies. Hey, how you doing, Aslan? Yeah, so we dehumanize creation. We do it all the time. We dehumanize creation. We dehumanize creation. How you doing, Brother Ali? We're so busy dehumanizing creation that we don't care about human beings. However, you got to see the culture that you're in because the same place that would say don't do, it's my baby, my choice, would also be upset with you if you aborted the baby, or excuse me, aborted a cub, if you aborted a pup, if you aborted a kid, right? Not a child, but a kid. A kid is a baby goat. So see, the culture that you're living in is showing you already what they do or what they don't do with this stuff. Yeah, and people, yeah, to get rid of guilt so you can sleep at night, right? So we have to ask ourselves a question once again. When you're seeing a lot of fathers now telling you it's okay to not be in their child's lives, how you doing, Jermaine? You have to realize that a lot of it's coming from a place to where we've been telling them for a long time, my body, my choice. Well, then they say fair is fair. People believe equality is real. Equality, they don't think equality is a myth. So whatever you're equal to, I have equal rights. So if you have an equal right to dismiss a baby, then why would it not? And once again, it goes to other places because now we don't respect sex. Sex being marriage, marriage is sex, procreation. How you doing, Sister Irena? We don't respect it. Sex is marriage, marriage is sex. We don't respect it. We don't care about it. It doesn't matter to us. Doesn't matter at all. Why? Because sex is something that's supposed to create a baby. See, so it goes deeper because before we started really disrespecting human life and saying that babies weren't even babies anymore, we were disrespecting sex. We were disrespecting marriage. If we're disrespecting marriage, then we're disrespecting biblical law. If we're going to disrespect biblical law, then we got to disrespect the Most High. See, it goes deeper than just as simple as women out here crazy because they want abortions, or men out here crazy because they're asking women to have abortions and they're not raising their children. There's a line to this, a linear thought. Thanks for being part of Human Needs White. There's a linear thought to this. It's not as simple as just, it's not as simple as just oh yeah, these men are evil, these women are evil. There's evil, but there's a spirit on this thing. You said a perspective husband told you he couldn't wait to have babies with you. Then one night he couldn't stop. Right. So you gotta make a decision from the beginning. How you doing, aphrodisiac? You got to make a decision from the beginning. You said the medical field, doctors have benefited. Oh, monetarily, yeah, of course, they get paid for abortions too, right? So once again, if we're pushing abortions, then doctors push abortions because doctors get paid for it. Like the reason why doctors push you getting the jab is because doctors make money off of it. The reason why doctors push big pharma is because they get paid from it. Yeah, and women aren't having babies that are born; they're being called birthers. And thanks for the love, appreciate it. So you gotta see what's going on. It's deeper than just oh, these people are evil. Yes, they're doing evil and doing something that we consider heinous in our culture, but we've got to say if like, are you ready for what you started? We got to ask the question like, are you really ready for what's going to happen? What's going to come down the line? Are you ready for raising a generation of people? People don't want to ask these questions, but let's keep it a buck. Are you ready for raising a generation of people who don't believe that babies are babies? So now when they're born, you treat them like what you always believed them to be. Well, I love my baby, but I think everybody else should kill theirs. You got to ask yourself, that's cognitive dissonance. Now, everybody has a right to do whatever. That's I'm not see, it's weird that I'm saying it, right? Sounds like I might have cognitive dissonance. Right? But I'm trying to tell you, they have a right to do whatever. In our culture, we don't have a right to kill babies, though. And at the end, everybody shall be judged. But you can't sit up there and say that you think that it's wrong for you to kill your baby, but it's okay for somebody else to kill theirs because it's their body. So what you're right. So what you're saying, you see what I'm saying? And so if that's the mindset that you're using, then you also can't say it's wrong, right? Like we don't want to keep it 100 across the board because we want to live in cognitive dissonance. But if I say it's okay for somebody to kill their baby because it's their choice, but it's okay for me to keep my baby because it's my choice. All right. So if a father doesn't want to raise his child, you have to see where the rabbit hole goes. If a father decides not to raise his child, is that okay? You see, my body, my choice comes with some weird consequences. You said somebody that you met said that they wanted that you were getting with they had paid for 14 abortions. Yeah, it's crazy. I've met people who have had, 14 easy. I think they said more than that. Right. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, if I don't respect the baby in the womb, where does it stop? See, we're talking about the men don't want to take care of the babies and they don't want to take care of them because they told them they don't want to have babies. We're talking about the women are killed. But if you don't think it's a baby in the womb, then you have to realize that's the problem. Yes, it's your body, it's your choice. So choose this day who you will serve. It is your choice. It is your choice. Right? But for but remember, the great philosopher Buster Rhymes, he said, for every choice comes with an invoice. There's a payment due. Just because you've chosen to take a life doesn't mean you haven't. If you've chosen to take a life, you've chosen to have blood on your hands. He said the lack of accountability on both sides gives way to immorality and disdain. Yeah. You said, what if the person was forced, even though the woman never really agreed? I mean, that's something that's there too, because now we got it. Because I know there's that's a great point, because there are a lot of young girls whose mothers I've met some, and the mothers are torn up in the young girl. I met when I was doing the youth pastors thing a long time ago. There was a young girl who I found out her mother, basically like she got pregnant, and teenage pregnancy, like probably like 13, 14, maybe even younger. I don't know, but I think 13, 14 with a teenage boy. And the mother was like, I wasn't ready to be a grandmother. So basically like told her to get rid of the baby. So now the teenage girl, she almost took her life. I met her 2 years after that happened, something like that. And she still makes IG posts and all types of stuff. I don't know if we're really friends anymore, but I know until at least a couple months ago when I was still, I barely go on IG anymore. But when I do go in there, I know at least probably about 2 months ago, she still posts stuff about how she misses the baby. So, those things come, every choice comes with an invoice. How you doing, Sister Laura? Every single one of them, every single choice comes with an invoice. And so that's why we need Jehovah and we need Yahshua, his son, more than ever to cover those sins, to have forgiveness, and to make sure we don't do it anymore. Remember, Moses was a murderer. It doesn't mean that we still don't say, hey, Moses did great things. Remember, David did some wild stuff to get Bathsheba, right? But we still respect David as a man after Elohim's own heart. Right. So it's a pretty deep conversation, but it's one that we have to have, or at least acknowledge, right? That one of the reasons you're seeing brothers out here now saying my body, my choice is because that we've told everybody that that's a real thing. And it is, by the way, it's real, but we haven't talked about the real consequences. There are sisters that I do one-on-one coaching with from time to time, and some of them have had an abortion, and they don't, and there's stuff that comes with it, like depression, but also even outside of depression, there's stuff that comes with it, like with physical ailments, dis-ease, mental health issues. Mental health stays long enough, now it manifests into clinical depression, right? So it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that. Like, we know, right? Like, you got to think about it. Your body knows, right? That's why part of the hormonal, I won't even say imbalance because it's normalcy, right? As far as the way your body responds today. But part of the hormonal imbalance that we had, that sisters go through, rather, when they're going through their period, brothers go through periods too, but in a different. But part of the hormonal imbalance that people are going through, and sisters going through when they're going through their period, is the fact that your whole body has geared up to carry a child. So when your body doesn't get to carry a child, there's an after effect, right? And you even have something that should have been life that's crying up from the ground, just as Abel's blood cried up from the ground. Yeah, where's the baby's choice? Yeah, that's a decision. To see, that's part of it too. So, like, once again, like I said earlier, law protects rights. That's why we should be about law. If the Most High says, I knew you, I knew thee individually, I knew thee before you were formed in the belly. That means that before mom and daddy met, he already knew you. So but once again, if we're going to say that that's not a baby, what we're saying is it's not alive. If we're saying it's not alive, then we're saying that the Most High never knew the person. So therefore, once again, we're finding excuses. And what's one of the biggest places that people like Margaret Sanger made sure that she picked up all the abortion stuff and made sure that they got momentum? She used churches, especially Black churches. That's why a lot of churches are still in this thing where they give out condoms and everything, contraceptives, so that you'll be easier with it, right? They do that, but that came from a culture that said that we want to put this in place. And Margaret Sanger did it specifically. She said so, that she didn't like Jews. She didn't like Black people, and she thought that they were not able to take care of themselves in any way, shape, or form. And so the best way to be able to make sure that you keep them, keep them off the street and make sure that you don't have to deal with the riffraff too much and all that, is to make sure that you have them abort babies. And she focused on those areas. She focused on in those particular neighborhoods. And what do those people in those neighborhoods still say today? What are the preachers preaching from pulpits all over the place now? A woman's body, a woman's choice, right? And they say stuff like, if she's not prepared to take care of the child, then why should we force her? Get it. There are women who have been sexually assaulted and end up with child. There are situations like that, but we're not going to act like, but also too, we can't act like that's always the case. And there are many people who are the result of such things that have happened, who have changed, helped change and shape your prism of how the world works. Right. Like, so even if we're going to go there, we can't do this thing where, like, I'm not, and this is where it gets into it. Once again, you have a right to do whatever you want. I don't have law. You said it's only 2%. Okay, I knew it was 90 something percent was not that. I didn't know what the percentage was. So that's only 2%. That means 98% aren't coming in there because of being sexually assaulted and now having to carry a child. I'm sorry, I missed somebody's comment. Looks like I missed something. Yeah. You know, that feeling of being deprived. Hmm. Hey, how you doing, Brother Anthony? Hopefully you're doing well. I know you're a busy man. Thanks for tuning in again. So these are things that we have to realize and recognize, right? That for every choice comes an invoice. There's a payment that's due. And there's a lot of people in the community dealing with a lot of stuff. Payments become due. You know, there's babies that weren't supposed to be here because people thought they aborted the baby. You know that, right? Like, but Yah still kept his hand on them. If you like the music of Israel Houghton, I always mess up his last name. Right, he's actually from an area, and some of my family knows him very well. He was not supposed to be here. His mother tried to abort him. The abortion didn't work. She didn't find out about it till it was later on. She decided to keep him, and then she had to have a conversation with him about the fact that she tried to abort him. Are you going through it, Coco? Amen. Right. So you're still here. You're a blessing, and you're still helping people and giving your gift and lending those things. So there's a lot of things that come out of this. Right. But once again, my body, my choice. There's a lot of issues that are attached to it. And it's a harsh issue. It's a hard issue to deal with. It's difficult to have conversation about. It causes a lot of frustration with us and with people. It causes people to have to, and we don't have dialogue about it. Just like people say, if you don't talk about racism, it doesn't exist. People say if you just don't talk about it, it'll go away. Right. I'm not even, and if you notice, I'm trying my best because I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. I still believe if you've had an abortion, the Most High wants you. I believe if you tried to have a woman abort a baby, the Most High wants you. I believe if you weren't a father to a child or a mother to a child, the Most High still loves you and wants to have a relationship with you. I'm not putting people in heaven or hell. That's not this conversation. This conversation is necessary, though, because we've lost our grip on reality, especially concerning the humanity, right? The humane parts that come out of creation. See, if you'll abort a baby, if you kill a baby, if you kill a baby up to 2 years old out the womb, right? If you'll say that sex doesn't really matter, sex isn't marriage, marriage is sex. If you'll do whatever you have to change, to say that it's okay to stay where you are and keep doing what you do, then what else are you willing to change? It doesn't get much more sinister, I guess we could use the word. I know sinister in Latin really just means left hand or left side, right? But it's something that's very sinister, no power in it. We're taking life. And then when they abort the babies, we don't talk about the fact that they sell the body parts. They grind them up. They take the legs and they use them for certain things. They use the brain for certain things. They don't just let the baby, they don't just, do this thing where you bury the baby or this and that or whatever, right? And I know there's late term abortions versus other types, but hear what I'm saying, right? Like they're not just taking your baby and just burying it in the ground. So people are okay with killing the baby and using the baby and eating babies, even taking concoctions or eating it, rub it into your skin or whatever. Like it gets into a bunch of places where we start having to ask ourselves, like, what are we really doing here? You said in your Caribbean culture, there's a saying, try aborting and the child may take you with them. Yeah, they're found in some cosmetics. They're found in a lot of medicine. They're found in some sunblocks. I won't say a bunch of them, but I know that they've found. There's been proof in that they've used them in a couple different sunblocks around the world. Not sure which company, so I do apologize. And I wouldn't even know what to look for because the terminology is something that I'm not used to seeing or knowing what it is. But it's part of the conversation. We should be honest about it. We should stop trying to beat around the bush concerning this topic because like watch this, my body, my choice. So is it your choice to keep the father away from their children if the father's trying to be in their life? It's the same mentality. My body, my choice. Is it okay to go ahead and is that the mentality that says as a father, hey, it's my choice, it's okay to keep you away from the mother? Any ingredient that starts with hemo? Okay, I'll look that up, thank you. Right, we're not thinking of how many places this is going into. Hey, how you doing, Sister Alien? You said you were given the knee injection choice. You asked what was the difference. Doctor told you Doctor told you one had aborted. Oh wow. Hmm. Right. So there's a lot of different ways this is going, and many of our young sisters were duped into believing this was all right. Right. A lot of people taking stuff that has fetal tissue in it. Fetal tissue in it. So they don't call it baby tissue, do they? Because they don't want you to think I'm aborting something that should have been alive that was killed to ensure that now that I can have this. Right. Removing the leaven from our home is serious. We don't want to eat the leaven. Well, we don't want to eat dead babies. It's against Yah's word to not only eat the blood of an animal, but definitely not to eat the blood or the flesh of a human being. Anything you're rubbing into yourself or having injected, it's food. You said some will tell you that the placenta and afterbirth was using their creams and lotions. Yeah, and by the way, that's a terrible thing too, because sisters, you're not supposed to cut the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is supposed to fall off on its own, because the placenta is supposed to continue to feed the baby until the placenta dies off. The placenta is supposed to give nourishment. So when you cut the placenta, when they cut that umbilical cord and they tie it together, and then they make sure that they're, or even before they cut it, they tie it. They're trying to cut off any nutrients that the baby might be able to be fed. In that sense, you're even aborting a lot of what is designed to go into the baby. Adrenochromes as well. Okay. Y'all teaching me some stuff. Praise Yah. Or adrenochromes, probably pronounced. So I'm just saying, when you hear this, my body, my choice, this thing goes deeper. And it takes a lot of empathy to even broach such a topic. It's not an easy topic to deal with. It's really not. It's very difficult. It's very mind blowing. It's a lot of different items that are on this list, if you will, and it's permeated in society in so many different ways. Right. And just like there are children that have been growing up for decades now that have no clue that milk comes from a cow, there's going to be a point we think this is crazy. There's going to be a point to where, children are growing up not even thinking that they're children. I mean, they already don't know that they're male or female. See how the mindset works? You said it really is, especially when you got to put on the back burner so long. Yep. Afterbirth can look like the tree of life. Okay. I had to look that up. You're teaching me some stuff, giving me some assignments. Right. But I'm just saying, like, we got to start thinking about this. Your babies already don't know male or female. Your babies already are going to schools and don't know morality versus immorality. They don't know morality against what's ethical, if it's even ethical. Things like Baby Boss, the movie, right? Or the stork comes right before it was Baby Boss, Baby Factory, and they just come out. And then it was, and even though if you watch the movie, it's supposed to be like setting it up where that was his imagination, but your brain doesn't really know how to take a joke or do certain things, right? Like you have the ability to think it through, but your brain, like watch this. Let me give you something real quick. You guys ready? We're gonna do a quick exercise. We're gonna do a quick exercise, and I got to get ready to take my leave so my wife can be in the space to do her class in a little bit. But watch this quick exercise. You ready? Show you how your brain can't really doesn't your brain just know, like your mind, your spirit can know it, but your brain can't really deal with stuff that's this tricky. You ready? Simple exercise. All right. If you want to close your eyes, if you want to try and focus, whatever you got to do, I want you to be at your at your peak mental game. Right? Okay. You ready? You ready for this? And sorry to hear that, big bro. That's great. That's wild. And yeah, a lot of people aren't valuing life, money, green. Exactly right. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Right now, I want you to not think. I want you to not think about gold. Did you see gold? Right now, do not envision gold. It's difficult, isn't it? Maybe eventually you got the image out your brain, but you couldn't not see the gold, right? Right now, I want you to envision, right? Right now, I want you to not envision the sun. Go. Right? Exactly. There you go. See, as soon as I said it, you saw it. Let's try another one. Right now, do not envision a mirror. Try it. See, your brain can't do it. You got to go through the mind, the spirit, the psychology, all this stuff to not a bit, but you can't initially undo what you heard, right? You have a vision. It's just like pornea or porneia, a false sense, or pornography, a false sense, a false image of marriage. So it's just like porneia or pornea, like a false image of marriage. You, right? If you see it, even if you don't look at it, if I were to say port, you already see it. Okay. Well, watch this. If I tell you that that's not really a baby, what does your brain do with that? It takes a while. You heard it. You got to pray that thing up off you now, right? You got to think about it correctly. You have to readjust. And that's all. Now imagine your child is hearing that every day, going to school and hearing that every day. Teachers are telling them, teachers are saying, you're not a boy, you're not a girl. Don't say male or female. Don't say he, him, say they. Every day. Every day. Your children are going to sex ed and hearing stuff about that. It's not a baby. It's not this, it's not that. They'll start off sex ed class with one sentence. Praise Yah at least for the one sentence, but this is usually how they start off. If you want to avoid a STD or pregnancy, you should remain abstinent. You should abstain from sex. Now that we've told you that, let's start teaching you nothing but sex for the next week or two. That's what we're sending our children into. And then we ask them after they get it for hours and hours and hours, for weeks. We say, hey, don't think like that. Right? Like, oh, and I just showed you in the exercise just once. All it takes is once. All it takes is one time for me. You say, is the life? Yeah. Can't think of it any other way. The evil world, the condition is sickening. Yeah. So that's why man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. So when you hear somebody say, my body, my choice, right? Is your choice to let things live or to let things die? And that's just simple, relatively speaking. That's as simple as it is. That being said, thank you guys for being on. I appreciate the king, queen, and each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential king and queen. And you please check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Tomorrow, Zoom meeting at 11 a.m. for those that are going to be in Florida. Zoom meeting for those that are in the upper northeast area. So basically think all the states above Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, etc. We'll have a Zoom meeting for you guys. That'll be at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time. And then those that are in the DMV and Pennsylvania. So that's Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Pennsylvania. We'll have a Zoom meeting just for you all at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. And we hope to see you there. Next Saturday, we have a Zoom meeting for everybody. We look forward to Minister Morel giving us a word tomorrow after the live session on the Kofi Ofori podcast. It'll be Shabbat Shalom service. Minister Morel will be teaching us for the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that, and we're thankful and grateful for you all. And we'll have more information on quite a few different things coming up, including September 29th through October the 6th. So you guys, please be ready. Pennsylvania is going to be at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. If you want more information, please text us or email us. You can go on the main TikTok page. If you're on YouTube, just look in the description. If you're on TikTok, just go to our main TikTok page, click on the link tree, text us or email us. We'll try to make sure you get the information. If we have your if we do have your number, so check your for the link. Please make sure you check your number, your email, and your DM. It's going to show up in one of those three, if not all three. Okay. But thank you guys. We appreciate you. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon. I'm going to go ahead and take my leave. I know some of you have been asking about the Passover package and everything as well. Seems like we have a lot of interest in that. So we will get back to you ASAP. I even know some of you even sent a donation already. So we'll try to get back to you ASAP on that. But thank you all. We appreciate you. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You said the message. Okay, Zion. So we'll talk to you guys soon. We appreciate you. As always, we give all honor and praise to the Most High Yahweh Elohim, and study this. Don't just listen to what I say, but please study on it and meditate on it so you can be hearers and doers simultaneously. That's all that I have for you guys tonight. I'll see you in the rising. As always, has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, just that you are loved. You're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Barak Allah Sham Yachava, Shalom Allah Asham Yachava, Shabbat Shalom. Peace.